In this video, I'll take a closer look at the use of support and resistance levels, probably the most familiar concepts to those who primarily use technical analysis for trading the markets. Covered in this video, what exactly does support and resistance means? Why is it important to use multiple timeframes when identifying support and resistance? How to use ChartMill to create an up-to-date watch list of stocks that are close to important support or resistance levels, so you know in advance which stocks to keep an eye on, and how to effectively find low-risk setups and open positions based on those levels, or how to set targets based on specific price levels at a higher time frame. My name is Christoph. Welcome to ChartMill. As I touched on in the intro, support and resistance are without a doubt the most important parameters in technical analysis. These are specific price levels where a significant price bottom or price top was formed in the past. And it is precisely because of that existing top or bottom that technical traders assume that that particular price level will once again become a key level for supply and demand when price hits it again. It is important to realize that one cannot use an exact price for a specific support or resistance level. Rather, we speak of a price range, and as soon as the price approaches that range, technical traders will be on their guard. Most traders automatically assume horizontal lines when it comes down to support and resistance, but keep in mind that diagonal trend lines can also be considered when looking for significant price levels. Support and resistance levels can be spotted on any time frame, and here are some examples of such levels on multiple time frames, which can be an intraday chart of 1 minute or 15 minutes, but also on a 4-hour chart, for example. The same goes for daily and weekly charts. And also on those time frames you will immediately recognize price levels which support the price in case of a price decrease, or which will rather inhibit the price in case of a price increase. As you have already noticed on these charts, there are an enormous number of price levels that are valid as support or resistance levels. However, this doesn't mean that you should consider all of them as price levels on which you're going to trade. The trick is to only keep an eye on those levels that are important enough to pay attention to and ignore all the others. And that's why the concept of multiple time frames is so important. Suppose you are using a swing trading strategy on the 4-hour chart. In that case, you should definitely concentrate on the support and resistance levels which are also visible on the higher time frame. In this case, the weekly chart. By doing so, you will be able to eliminate a lot of minor support and resistance levels on your trading chart which are less important. What remains are only the ones which are worthwhile because they also play an important role on that specific higher time frame. Consider this chart on the 4-hour time frame, for example. Does this look like a good breakout setup to you? To me it doesn't seem so. The downtrend on this chart is without any doubt bearish, and this is only minor support. Now take a look at the weekly chart of that same stock. Do you notice that rising trend line that perfectly coincides with the small support level on the 4-hour chart? Now what do you think of this setup? Indeed, that casts a completely different light on the situation. The mini support zone on the 4-hour chart is confirmed by an important support level on the weekly chart that has already been tested several times. And these are the price zones that you as a technical trader should have an eye for, precisely because these levels guarantee the biggest movements. For this situation, where trading is done on the basis of the 4-hour chart, everything that happens in between is noise. This is of course completely different for day traders who look at sometimes much smaller time frames. One last example on the hourly chart and daily chart. Take a look at this 1-hour chart with a cup and handle pattern. This looks like a decent breakout setup if price can break above the double top. Now this is the same chart on the daily time frame. As it turns out, the resistance level has already been tested 3 times on the daily chart. And I consider this a very good buy setup if price can break above the $150 level with a stop loss just below the last swing low, so just below $147. Moreover, above the $150 level there is no existing resistance level anymore. Of course, there are no certainties, and it could perfectly happen even in this case that after the entry the price drops again and the position is exited. However, the important thing is that you only invest in the setups that actually matter, and that is why analyzing support and resistance on multiple time frames is so extremely important. Now let me show you how to find stocks that are close to support and resistance using ChartMill. Yes, this can be done manually, but it will be very time consuming. Especially for a first basic selection, it is much easier to use a stock screener so that a large group of stocks can be reduced quickly and efficiently. Moreover, a first selection requires further follow-up anyway. The fact that the price is in the vicinity of a support or resistance level is in itself not enough to be able to trade. Only when a clear buying or selling pattern emerges, you can consider taking a position. Screening an initial broad-based selection of stocks that quote close to support or resistance levels can easily be done in ChartMill. On the home page, first of all, select the stock screener page from the main menu. And for this example, I have already set some basic filters such as the region, the minimum price at which the shares must be listed, and the required minimum volume. Now first click in the blue bar next to the View section and select two charts from the drop-down menu. This way you'll get to see two charts of the same stock next to each other. Make sure that on the right side of the same blue bar the number of charts per line is set to 2. If that's done, you go to the tab Main Chart where you set a time frame on weekly. Via the blue plus sign, you then add the overlay Consolidated Support and Resistance and Support and Resistance lines. Set the time frame to best fit 2. Now go to the secondary chart and set it to the 4-hour time frame. Again, choose a time period. In this case, I select 6 months. Any other indicators in both charts should be removed so you can purely focus on the support and resistance levels. If everything is set up correctly, you should see on the left the weekly chart and on the right a 4-hour chart of the same stock. The 4-hour chart is the time frame on which you decide whether or not to enter the market. And we will now use the weekly chart to find relevant support and resistance levels. Select the Support and Resistance tab. In this section you will find all the filters you can use to find stocks that are close to specific support and resistance levels, which are automatically recognized by ChartMill. There are quite a few options available on this page for ChartMill to look for specific support and resistance levels, but for this video we're mainly going to look for the support and resistance levels on the weekly time frame. The weekly resistance and weekly support tabs take into account both the horizontal support and resistance lines, as well as the diagonal trend lines that ChartMill recognizes. The weekly horizontal support and resistance tab only takes into account the horizontal support and resistance lines, but both options identify support and resistance levels at a specific price level. The consolidated support and resistance tabs do the same as both the horizontal options, but instead of the support and resistance level being pinned on a specific price level, these two options visualize support and resistance zones, giving you more results. For example, if I choose current 1% from the weekly horizontal resistance, then I get 51 results. If, however, I do the same for consolidated resistance, current 1% from the consolidated resistance, then I'll get more than 1800 results. So keep in mind that when using the regular weekly horizontal tabs, ChartMill concentrates on one specific price level and not on a price zone, which of course makes the selection more stricter. So let's run a quick scan. Open the drop-down menu under the weekly resistance tab and select current 2% from the weekly resistance 1, and also select the weekly resistance length above 50. So the resistance should be at least 50 periods. Now let's take a closer look and put the stocks of interest in a separate watch list. Honeywell, for example, there is a weekly descending trend line that's been tested quite a few times. There is some horizontal resistance, so these are also important, but it's important enough to select this for a watch list. So you can open your watch list by clicking on the plus sign and then create new. So support resistance watch list, for example. Enter. Next one, ARQT, horizontal resistance, very close to it. It's also close to the descending weekly trend line, but there is some huge volume visible on the weekly chart. So this one is also a nice candidate, adding to the list. Let's go further. Atlantica, horizontal resistance, descending trend line. If it can break out above 37, there's room to 41, so adding this one to the watch list. No. Pinnacle, there is some overhead resistance, consolidated zone, as you can see over here. So it should first break out above the 81 level. So that's quite a distance on the 4-hour chart. Yeah, we'll add this as also to the watch list. This is also a nice one, Brookfield. If price can take up the $44 level, there's room to 62. So definitely adding this one to the watch list. FedEx. Visa. Jack in the Box. Oh, that's an interesting one. As you can see, we have a double bottom. It acted as support, but now it becomes resistance. So this is a huge move up. The volume is not so high, so this can be an important resistance level. Onto the watch list. And to conclude, Front Door. This is a very nice example of what ChartMill is capable of. As I've already mentioned, all the horizontal and diagonal lines, so the support and resistance levels, are drawn automatically by ChartMill. As you can see over here, a very nice descending trend channel. Price broke above, now there's a retracement, so the market structure is broken. Some huge volume. Definitely worth to put this one on the watch lists. It's definitely my favorite one. So that's all. Now select the stock charts and open your watch list. At this point I have made a first broad selection of stocks close to resistance on the weekly chart, and from now on I will examine these stocks more in depth to figure out if there are some potential long or even short setups. The first thing I always check is the date of the last and next earnings. I never open a position in stocks that announce quarterly results in less than 2 weeks. If you would want to see the complete profile of the stock, right click on this icon with the arrow and it will open in a new browser tab. From here you can check all sort of things, technical and fundamental reports, analyst ratings, the financial statements or the news. The discount cash flow analysis that is visible on my screen is not yet available in the final version of the screener. At this time we are still testing and fine-tuning it. From this selection I have currently retained ARQT and Front Door. If ARQT can close above this horizontal line on the 4-hour chart, an important resistance level on the weekly time frame has been breached, and we may be off for further upward movement with $35 as the first target. For FTDR, a similar scenario is in place. A breakout and close above the 28 level would be a confirmation of the upward breakout from the downward trend channel on the weekly chart. On the 4-hour chart, however, there is still an open gap at the level of $30 that could provide some intraday resistance. So finally, after you have completed your analysis, you can put these tickets in your broker account and follow them live as the trading day opens. I think it's clear by now that using support and resistance levels on multiple time frames is definitely the way to go. Ultimately, it comes down to adding the most interesting stocks from your screen selection in a separate watch list that you then check daily to see how the price is evolving in relation to those key levels. By using the ChartMill scanner on a daily basis to find new stocks and at the same time removing certain other stocks from the list that don't show worthy setups, you'll end up with an up-to-date selection of stocks on which you can concentrate your trading every single day. So feel free to try out all the features available on the support and resistance tab. You can do so by creating a free account on ChartMill if you haven't done so already, and you only need an email address to do so. We don't ask for any payment information whatsoever. After all, a free account doesn't commit you to anything and remains valid indefinitely. In addition, you will receive 6,000 free credits every month to use as you see fit. Please do not forget to like this video, it means a lot for the growth of this channel. So thanks for watching and I'll see you next time. Trade safe.